Welcome to this deep dive presentation on team projects for remote and work from home video post-production. In the next 30 minutes, we will cover the main moving parts and fundamentals of team projects to enable a smooth remote and work from home experience. There are 10 key areas that this presentation aims to dive into. Working remote with standard projects. What is a team project? Basic overview. Managing team project collaborators, media management, collaboration notifications, proxy workflows, team projects, scalability, media exporting, using proxies, connecting CC or Creative Cloud services, best practices, and activating team projects, teams, and enterprise. Working remote with standard projects. Version copies, and OS file paths. Saving and sharing end-of-day versions of projects between remote collaborators can be problematic, especially when users are not working with the same operating system or have alternative storage configurations, such as a work-from-home system may need to spill assets across external hard drives to manage the scale of their working assets. In this example, we see an assistant editor creating a new standard project on a Mac connected to Mac formatted storage. A standard project sets up a folder for timed autosave copies of the project, and the latest version of a project is manually saved over itself. Any end-of-day edits are manually saved with Save As, allowing a way to roll back to earlier edits if required. This example shows a Windows system being used by the craft editor who intends to collaborate with the assistant editor. The same project file structure exists, but the media is now looking for a Windows-based mount point, different to the way a Mac connects to working asset files. When it comes time to combine project work between these editors, they have a few obstacles to overcome. How to get the project and working files to each other, preparing an external hard drive for pickup or delivery. Is the external drive compatible with the other editor's home operating system? Or use a cloud-based file sharing service to sync copies of the project and associated files. What if the other user's storage fills up and they need to spill across other drives? We can all agree that the project file will be exchanged through the internet somehow. When a project from a Windows machine is opened by a Mac, there is an immediate issue with linking to the asset files. And this issue arises each time new assets are added to a project that is then shared to another user that uses another storage configuration. By collaborating with separate project files without central storage or perfectly mirrored operating system and drive configurations, the persistence of this link media issue can cause frustration, confusion, and ultimately eat up time that affects delivery deadlines. Stripping back the complexity, we can see that the orange Mac and blue Windows project files require end-user management. Not only does the end user have responsibility of their own latest version project file and autosaves, they also need to keep track of the latest shared versions of the collaborator's project file. Editors are primarily creative problem solvers. They don't want to be dealing with asset management mayhem. What is a team project? Basic overview. Now that we've established how standard projects behave in a remote workflow, let's look at the basics of what makes managing team projects different. Creating a new team project is very similar to making a standard Premiere project. A key difference is that a team project is transactionally saved, where each interaction is logged as an instant autosave and backed up into the Creative Cloud. When the project is ready to be shared to others, the editor manually executes a Share Changes, creating a date and time-stamped version of the project into the Creative Cloud. There are no project files to email, download, and make copies of. Team Projects keeps track of every shared version of the project in a centralized user experience via the media browser, effectively streamlining what would otherwise be a series of save-as copies of a standard project. Team Projects also keeps track of each editor's transactions under the Autosaves subtab. Team Projects, managing collaborators. Editor collaboration is at the core of the Team Projects workflow design. Managing collaborators with Team Projects is simple. A Team Project owner can invite and remove collaborators from the Team Projects settings Edit Collaborators option. Inside the Edit Collaborators interface, the Team Projects owner can type in a name or named user ID email. When connected to an Active Directory, a filtered listing can assist in finding and adding collaborators efficiently. New collaborators are invited from the same user interface. The invited collaborators receive an invitation notification via their Creative Cloud desktop app to decline or accept. At this point, I want to call out that the file sync folder in this diagram is not associated with the Team Projects invite and must go through a separate invitation process covered later in the presentation. Once accepted, collaborators can open the latest shared version. To remove a collaborator, open the Team Project settings and navigate to the Edit Collaborators list. Select the user ID slot from the listing and select Remove to revoke access to the Team Project. Media Management, Local Storage, Cloud Sync. Team Projects has a unique way of managing each user's storage configuration via media mapping, removing any operating system-based drive mounting issues. In this configuration, 4 collaborators are using a shared Creative Cloud Files folder holding a localized copy of the Team Project's working assets. However, the synchronized folder must be shared to and accepted by all collaborators for Team Projects to find the links. In this second configuration, each collaborator has their own copy of files that are not auto-synchronized and may be spread across a variety of drives. Each collaborator can set their own media mapping start points irrespective of the way their collaborators are configured. In this third configuration, users have a mixed storage setup. The initial bulk of working files have been sent or picked up as an external drive, and a file sync folder is used for further added assets as post-production moves forward. The media management mapping functionality in Team Projects can handle multiple mappings, allowing dynamic storage spread and avoiding relink issues once configured. Using Adobe Creative Cloud Files is not a requirement to use Team Projects. So long as Team Projects knows where to look for files via the user's media mapping start points, creatives get to stay on task and away from linking issues when receiving collaborators' changes. Collaboration and notifications, share and get changes, conflict warnings, conflict resolution, version history. Let's begin with the icons for share and get changes between user 1 and user 2. When changes are made to the project in any way, an icon in the bottom right corner of the Team Project panel lights up. This is the Share Changes icon. When executing Share Changes, an interface appears showing a list of the assets affected since the last version share and a comment area across the bottom. Completing the share pushes the Team Project metadata into the Creative Cloud, making a new version that others can now get. In this case, we see user 2's perspective. When a new version of the team project is ready, the Get Changes icon lights up. It is to the left of the Share Changes icon in the bottom right corner of the team project panel. When the Get Changes icon is selected, the Get Latest Changes progress bar updates the team project. When the version has been refreshed, the team projects panel notifies the user of any new or altered assets by showing them as selected items. Team Projects centralizes distributed work across folder and sequences. A team project will run without conflicts if everyone stays inside their own sequence or sequences. Collaborators can open others' sequences. If no changes have been made, there are no conflicts. In the event that changes to the same sequence do happen, Team Projects provides feedback and ways to roll back, just in case. Now let's look at the range of sequence indicators. When changes are being made to a sequence, a white pencil icon appears at the end of the timeline name. This indicates that alterations have been made to the sequence asset. Selecting the pencil icon shows a drop-down box of who and what changes were made. Take note that the workflow diagram shows the dotted blue transactional save of user 1, which is sending live feedback while working. When a yellow pencil icon is seen at the end of the timeline name, it signifies that another user has made changes to the same sequence. Without the need for a share or get changes process, the blue dotted transactions from user 2 has gone up to the Creative Cloud and fed back down to user 1 that the opened sequence has been altered. Clicking on the pencil shows the user more information about who has edited the asset first. When seeing a yellow pencil, it is best practice to make a duplicate of the sequence to avoid a conflict in the version sharing process. If a red pencil icon appears on the end of a timeline name, then more than one user has made changes, and a conflict will take place if the users execute a share changes. Looking at the blue dotted lines, you can see that both users have up and down arrows indicating they've both made transactions on the same sequence and that the Creative Cloud registers to both users that a conflict is in process. Selecting the pencil icon will show more information about who has edited the asset. If a user notices a yellow pencil turn red, they can use Undo to reverse the red status back to yellow, where they can avoid a conflict by duplicating the sequence, leaving the other user to continue working without a red notification showing up for them. Now we'll take a look at the coloured arrow icons on the end of timeline names. New sequences or files added to a team project that have not been shared into a version show a white up arrow. This indicates that these assets are not yet part of a team project's version. The up arrow will be removed after a share changes is executed. If a timeline name has a yellow down arrow, the current user is being notified that another user has shared changes of the same sequence. The yellow status is an indicator that the user should avoid using the sequence and work from a duplicate to avoid a conflict when it comes to the Get and Share Changes version update. If a user sees a red down arrow next to the sequence name, both users have made changes to the same sequence, although another user has already shared changes. Therefore, a Get and Share Changes process will have to deal with a version conflict. Conflict resolution is presented when a Get or Share Changes process finds a conflict. The user interface provides 3 resolve options. Option 1, keep your version. Option 2, take the shared version. Option 3, copy and rename your version, then take the shared version. These options are presented per conflict and shown in the top area of the user interface. If there is more than one conflict, the user will move through them one at a time with the 3 options to manage each one of them. Now we'll look at accessing Team Project's version history. Collaborators can use the Media Browser panel to navigate a Team Project's version history. Under the reverse clock icon in the top right, users can move down the vertical slider to preview earlier versions of the Team Project. Each version notch represents a share from any of the collaborators. A pop-up window shows details from that version share, such as the version number, date and time it was shared, who the user was, and any comments. Users can directly import or open an asset in the source monitor to confirm the content before adding it to their current version. A comparative process using standard projects requires several processes and exchanges. Users would have to make a save as copy in place of every shared version. A copy of each user's projects would need to be shared to all collaborators, and users would need to navigate their own storage configurations to find and open each project separately. A lot of navigation without much context to who did what when. Proxy workflow: automated, create, attach. The bottleneck of a remote video workflow comes down to the speed of sharing working assets. Proxies can dramatically decrease file size while maintaining frame-accurate edits. The media container in Adobe Premiere Pro can hold 2 levels of clip metadata. One for the original imported media and a second status of metadata for attached proxies. This allows users to actively toggle playback in Premiere Pro from attached proxies or the source. For accurate effects work, Premiere Pro scales any proxy raster differences to fit the source dimensions. Proxy workflows can be managed in 3 ways. One approach is to use an ingest settings preference, where the user imports a source file to edit, while a triggered process is sent to Media Encoder to create and attach the proxy in the background. Keep in mind that the media container can hold 2 sets of clip metadata, the green original file properties and orange proxy file properties. With the toggle proxies icon inactive and grey, we see that the green source file connected as an unbroken line for Premiere Pro playback. The orange proxy file has a dotted line showing that Premiere Pro knows it is attached but not in use for playback. A second approach allows users to select already imported media to create proxies. The user can select a range or specific clip in the project panel and choose to create proxies. A codec preset and proxy file destination must be selected before Media Encoder creates and attaches the proxy. The third approach gives the user the option to attach proxies that are created elsewhere. The user selects the source clip references in the project and proceeds to point to the proxy file destination. When the toggle proxies icon is on, proxy attached clips will be using proxies for playback. You can see how the toggle has changed the orange proxy file to an unbroken line, and the green source file is now a dotted line, indicating that the toggle proxies function is turned on and using proxies for playback. If a project has a mix of attached proxies and source-only clips, Premiere Pro allows playback from the mix based on what's available. Team Projects Scalability. Now that we've covered the way Team Projects works with the Creative Cloud, how to add collaborators, see that media mapping has intelligence for each user's storage configuration, once set up, Team Projects Scalability is fast and simple to roll out. Here is an example of the way two collaborators are connected to the team project's platform and copies of the working media. Adding another collaborator is as easy as inviting them to the shared working assets folder and the team project with their named user ID. As the collaborator list grows, the complexity remains low. No file asset management mayhem for users sharing standard projects, running mixed operating system environments, or various hard drive configurations. Team Project scales extremely well for remote video collaboration. Media exporting, using proxy workflows. Once the workload is completed and it's time to export, how can you confirm the export process is not going to use proxies? Take note that Toggle Proxies is turned on inside of Premiere Pro, and the yellow line for the proxy file is being used for Premiere Pro playback. When executing an export, Media Encoder discreetly checks if the system is connected to the source media and ignores the toggle proxies on status to complete the export with the original source files. In this case, the editor has the toggle proxies turned off. The green source media has an unbroken line for Premiere Pro playback, and when sent to export, the Media Encoder discreetly checks if all files are connected to the full res source and completes the export without any notification. The only case where proxies are used for export is where a proxy is the only linked asset available and after the user is informed that the source files are offline. When a system is only connected to proxies, we can see that toggle proxies being on or off makes no difference to what's being used for playback. The export check for source files goes out and comes back with source media is offline. A dialog informs the user of an offline issue and requests a further step to proceed with proxies being used in the export. Connecting CC services, best practices, and housekeeping. In this section, we will walk through the connection of other Creative Cloud services such as CC files and CC libraries in the context of collaborative best practices and housekeeping. CC Files is the Adobe Creative Cloud synchronization service. You can view the Creative Cloud folder on your machine by selecting the cloud icon in the top right of the Creative Cloud desktop application and selecting Open Sync Folder. This opens the Creative Cloud Files storage folder, which can be used to populate and synchronize shared copies of working assets. To invite a collaborator to a shared folder, selecting Creative Cloud Web pushes the user to a signed-in browser panel. Under Your Work, find or create a folder to invite others to. Open the folder to see inside it, then select the share icon that looks like a bust with a plus symbol to open the invitation pop-up box. Add collaborators with their named user ID and set their permissions. Once invited, collaborators receive an email and a notification in the Creative Cloud desktop app to decline or accept the invitation. CC libraries are designed to be used as a centralized style guide and branding catalog. The CC Libraries panel is integrated into Adobe apps like Premiere Pro, After Effects, Photoshop, and Illustrator. It can be an Adobe stock search engine interface and repository for Adobe stock assets, and used to access motion graphic templates designed in After Effects or Premiere Pro. And it communicates with the Creative Cloud desktop app to synchronize missing Adobe fonts when adding a library asset. CC libraries can be populated by a collaborator with Can Edit permissions. In the Creative Cloud desktop app, go to the top left and select Your Work. Select the library you want to share, and select the share icon in the top right to invite collaborators. A pop-up to invite to the library appears. Add the named user ID, set the library permissions, and invite. To ensure a smooth libraries experience across the remote collaborator team, Best practice is to set the team project scratch disks for the CC libraries and motion graphics templates media to a shared folder. Once CC libraries assets are added to a project, a copy of the files are brought down from the cloud. When the scratch disks are set up correctly, any CC library design or stock files and motion graphics template files are downloaded and synchronized in the background so the other collaborators can get changes and continue working without interruption. Team Projects is primarily designed for Premiere Pro collaboration. There are limited use cases for Prelude and After Effects being used with a team project. If this is an area of interest, we can discuss further one-to-one. Activating team projects, teams, and enterprise. Team Projects is an included service for Teams and Enterprise accounts, although in response to COVID-19, the Team Projects platform is accessible to CC for individual subscribers until August 17, 2020. Teams and Enterprise customers may have to confirm that the Team Projects services are enabled in Admin Console, usually managed by the IT department. Enterprise class customers can utilize their federated ID support to comply with work from home policies. I know that was a lot of information in a very short time, so thank you. Please visit the Adobe blog link for more information on Adobe Video Remote and Work from Home links and materials, including a PDF guide for team projects. The link is adobe.ly/3 lowercase b, capital O, capital C, 0, lowercase c and b. If you would like to embark on a Team Projects pilot or have further questions, please reach out to your regional Adobe contact.